But I think he has given some of his views, in fairness, saying this shows, the carnage that's involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just shows the horror of war every day, day by day, and it doesn't show like one massive, huge killing. It just shows the everyday killing of citizens, and also how the war has been painted in different colors than you can actually read there. I think it was important if this would have just been dumped on Wikileaks without any explanation. An in-depth investigation into, for example, the military language. I mean, I don't understand most of this language. I'm not born and raised in that sort of lingo. So I think it is important that that we have an access to some sort of understanding what this all means in order to draw.
Absolutely. Let's talk about more of what's in those documents, then the Gulf of Mexico info, and the latest there in Iceland. And we do need to have the focus on the documents, the massacres, the killing, the fact that the war is a disaster, that the troops are in there being forced to grow the opium, instead of just obsessing over WikiLeaks. We need to look at those documents themselves, and the controlled media has been pretty successful at spinning it away from that. Birgitta Jónsdóttir, looking over these documents, I mean, how long ago did you know about the documents before they released them?
Just a little while before. There is actually so much occurring in Iceland that I've had to put my focus on there in the last month or so. But what I've seen, and just from reading, I wasn't particularly impressed with The Guardian. I wish I could read Der Spiegel, which is a very reputable German weekly magazine. I was disappointed with the take of the New York Times on it. It was way too soft somehow and just didn't really get into the grittiness of it. What it shows us is that the war is actually not going as well as the mainstream media and the Obama administration has been depicting for the world. And I do feel, this is a NATO operation. Iceland is, for example, a member of NATO, and we have sent people there. Even though we don't have a military, they now changed it into Peace Corps. But I have been told by somebody that served there that this is just military training. So I think every NATO country, for example, needs to, I do think I am a part of, I go to the NATO parliamentary meetings. And ironically, I'm a part of that. I believe we need also people that work for peace and pacifists.
Being a member of the Icelandic parliament and being able to go to these NATO meetings, what is the sense of Europe? I mean, I've read in the polls that the people do not want to be in Afghanistan.
Yes, and, for example, I really don't think that anybody has a comprehensive understanding of the purpose of this war. I mean, first many people felt it was like a revenge against the 9/11 attack in the US. Then they wanted to liberate the Afghanis from themselves or the Taliban or the opium lords, and now we get news about, and it's been known for years that the opium trade is so strong in Afghanistan. How is that possible? We heard also, I remember that there was very much propaganda around that NATO wanted to help Afghanistan to build schools and liberate women and so forth. Is that really happening? Is the infrastructure of Afghanistan stronger? I don't think so. So what is the purpose of this war? Let's talk about that. What is the purpose of the war in Afghanistan?
From your research, what is the purpose?
Well, it's about natural resources. What else?
Yeah, it's about opium, it's about lithium, it's about oil and gas pipeline routes. It's
Exactly.
also about being a strategic base to menace Russia, Pakistan, and China.
I mean, NATO means the North Atlantic Military Alliance or whatever, and it's very far from the North Atlantic. What is NATO doing in Afghanistan?
Yeah, NATO has announced in the last 5 years they want to be a global force now.
Oh, really? Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that that is not, for example, the vision of those. Very many people in Iceland are not happy with Iceland being part of NATO because we want to be a pacifist nation.
Birgitta, do you think that this is going to have the same effect that the Pentagon Papers did with finally starting the end of the Vietnam War? Do you I mean, because this is earth-shaking if we're able to actually get the information out to the people.
Well, Daniel Ellsberg says that he compares this to the Pentagon Papers, and he is, of course, the person responsible for that leak. So, you know, he is a person that I greatly respect, and I encourage people to listen to what he's been saying about this leak, and WikiLeaks as well. I hope that this will be the end of this war, but I really do also hope that the material that has been leaked on WikiLeaks and elsewhere about the reality of war, modern warfare, and the motivations behind these wars will give people enough power to actually stop the next war looming. We all know that they are trying to start a war against Iran. They want to have much more stronghold in this region. So this should be an empowerment for those that are sick of all the spending on military while people are, you know, starving in our world.
Well, I just hope that people realize that we're not in Afghanistan for the reasons, the different reasons we've been given in the past. How was the Icelandic media covering WikiLeaks?
They're quite positive about it, except, of course, the predictable media. It's always the same. It's this left and right gameplay.
Birgitta, final segment with you straight ahead. Any subjects you want to talk about, the latest with your fight against the banking looting, the banking occupation forces there, and the info you wanted to get into concerning the Gulf of Mexico spill. We'll be right back with a member of parliament from Iceland. We got Ray McGovern. He thinks the WikiLeaks situation is huge news, very important. He's had a chance to analyze some of the 92,000 documents. He'll be joining us for 30 minutes of the next hour. And then the father of the birther movement, a lot of key intel he's developed. Attorney Phil Berg's joining us in the last half of the next hour. Going back to Birgitta Jónsdóttir, I've asked her a lot of questions. I appreciate her joining us. I want you to get into the banking fight and then the intel you wanted to get into, you know, the info you're getting that we're not getting in the mainstream media about the oil spill. Now the new CEO of BP U.S. says, yeah, it may still be leaking. So we're seeing a lot of deception there. But before we do that, how do folks support Iceland and your movement to beat the banking takeover?
Well, I guess the best way of supporting us is just to support any attempts in your own countries to change the way we handle the monetary system. We need to rethink the way we do banking. The way I see reserve banking, it is a criminal act. And we are hoping, it looks actually quite positive that the best bank will be established in the city of Reykjavik. It is being looked into now by the Reykjavik City Council. And there is sort of a growing understanding among people, and I'm actually attending tonight a meeting about the monetary system in Iceland, a grassroots group that has also been bringing forward this idea about the best bank, which is based on the model of North Dakota. You already have so many fantastic things in place in your country that would be fantastic to see if you would do this in each and every state. For example, to have like the Bank of North Dakota, it is such an incredibly fantastic model to base, you know, and to have business with. So, you know, I guess the best support we could have right now is, like I have asked before, is if you have any information, you know, deep information about how the IMF functions, any recent good documentaries about the IMF, how they roll over nations and destroy them, that would be very useful. We're trying to form a group and we're going to have a big rally next month to raise awareness about who is really in charge in Iceland, and there's been actually regular protests outside their offices. My biggest concern right now is the IMF and their influence on our energy sector, and their desire and or actually their demand that we will prioritize our energy sector, which has always been publicly owned and should still be publicly owned. We are I think the biggest support is actually just growing awareness about, just keep your eyes on Iceland and support the IMI initiative. But I like to see it as I like to see people in general just wake up and realize that they are the change. Even though this is an Obama slogan, I think it's a good slogan. I think each and every one of us have to remember that we as individuals can change the world, and now is really the time for that. In relation to the BP, I don't have a lot of insiders information. I just want to encourage people, if they do have information that they feel that the general public should have access to just leak it. It's simple. Everybody needs to be aware of what is really going on there. The storm season is about to break on, isn't it, in August? That we have the hurricanes and so forth.